Oh, here we go. Eddie wants you to play better guitar.
Your sound is in your fingers. So,
Right.
like, look at Angus. He doesn't really have any effects in his rig, so it's only the sound of his fingers.
That's true. Oh, here we go. Eddie wants you to play better guitar now. That's a great picture of Eddie.
It is cool.
Probably the same photo. That is the same photo. Yeah, well, that's the front. Now, this is where it gets a little crazy. It's a little wacky because I can't figure out who's actually writing this. It says it's as told by Jim Ferguson, but it's in Eddie Van Halen's first perspective, first person. So I don't know how accurate any of this dialogue is. What's really cool, though, I like, is if you want to go down and learn Eruption, Take It On, they got a direct transcription by Steve Vai, note for note. And as we know.
Yes, but Steve, I seem to recall when he did that one, he didn't actually have a guitar. He just was transcribing it by ear, and he wrote it down. So the placement of where you would play any of the notes didn't really fit in the tab or anything. That was what I recall from the first transcription of that.
Was this the very first that you know?
Not exactly sure, but I never really learned Eruption from any of the music stuff. I just played the thing back and forwards, on my little tape machine or the record player, and tried to just learn it by ear. That was the main thing.
Well, that's what Eddie was talking about in here, actually. Again, this was Eddie's actual words. He said is usually taking licks off of records and listening and developing his rock and roll is the best way to learn how to play. And he said that Ted Nugent played his rig on tour and was hoping to sound like Eddie, and he sounded like Ted Nugent. So the one thing is, don't put too much emphasis on equipment.
Yeah, he always said your sound is in your fingers. So.
Right, in your brain, I think you put it in this one, right?
Yeah.
There's fingers and brain. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially with players of his generation, there's more to it when it's just the personality of the player. Like, look at Angus. He doesn't really have any effects in his rig, so it's only the sound of his fingers.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
But then you got a guy like The Edge, who most of his songs are all about effects. So it is possible to have a sound that's based on just creating things with toys and
Tom
sounds.
Morello.
Yeah. There's a few things. I mean, I think the fingers probably matter a little bit less when you're dealing with only effects.
Right. That's a good point. So as we're talking about fingers and Eddie's fingers, you got to help me out. Are those his fingers? Is that Eddie?
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, but look that's a different guitar.
Yeah, what kind of guitar is that now?
It's the Frankenstrat, but it had a white pickguard on it for a minute.
Wow, okay. So I wasn't familiar with that particular guitar. That's why I was like, was that? Okay, there it is.
Yep.
And he was talking about how most beginners want to learn lead because they think it's cool, and consequently, they never develop good rhythm skills.
True enough.
And we all say he's one of the best, if not the best rhythm players ever. I mean, it is not easy to play a Van Halen rhythm. It's harder than doing the solos, I think. It's pretty intense.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you try to make it sound anything like him with the feel, that's even harder.
I feel like that's just a territory. It's just scary to touch on YouTube video perspective of people doing covers. When you're doing like a cover on YouTube, because everyone's like, well, you should have this. This is available in the market. Why aren't you using this effect? The bar is so high on doing those YouTube covers that I would never attempt. Because it's frightening.
Yeah.
Now, you on the other hand are doing something really special on the road right now. This track you're playing, and we just heard it, which you guys probably seen in this video. It sounds phenomenal. And you weren't running any effects or really anything. You were right into your positive grid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it sounded fantastic, dude.
Well, the thing about Push Comes to Shove, which is the song we're talking about, it's that has always been my favorite Van Halen song ever since I heard it when I was 12, and it was too complicated for me to learn back then. So years later, I was like, well, I should probably learn this song. And I wanted to do it here today in Nashville because it's actually Edward's birthday. So
That's right.
I thought, that'd be kind of cool. Just if I can do a decent version of it.
Yeah, which you did. You nailed
Yeah.
it. One take.
Well-
One take. We asked you to do it. You nailed it.
Yeah, the thing is, when I get up there on stage later tonight, you just never know what could happen.
Right. So y'all better come to the show tonight, but this will not be live. So
Yeah.
this will already be after the show. That was a good plug, though, but true. You never know.
Yes.
But I'm pretty confident you can do pretty well on that.
Do my best.
Yes.
Don't know if we'll get it. Ready?
Got some guitar player swag. That's a great duffel bag. I'd like to get one of those. You probably found those in Reverb. Probably $50. Someone of those did it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Somebody would use it as a cat carrying bag.
You could. That cat would probably not live very long, though. I don't think there's any air pockets at all to breathe in there. So if you zip it up, that cat's goner.
Yeah.
Oh, so let's see. We got here. It's got some Shane guitars, designed right and left-handed. Never heard of those. Very basic looking.
Yep.
Then we go into this lesson is very in depth. He's telling you how to bend, everything like that. Fostex, talking about how they did. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band was also recorded with one of these recorders, I think by one of the producers. But they're still around. Fostex still around.
Yeah.
So we got that. There's a lot about this. This is a very in-depth lesson from Eddie. This is pretty cool. The Seymour Duncan convertible amp.
I remember those. They were a little bit tricky. That you could take the different modules and have different sounds and plug it in, and you'd get a different, like a Fender sound or a Marshall sound. But the connections would be dirty sometimes, and then it would just lose sound. And so
Yeah, I figured. But it's a good attempt because you got to remember, what does that sound like today? All amps in one. Sounds like modelers. It's the early day modeler in a way, right?
Yep.
But it was a real tube amp. So, yeah, you can get these for good deals, but the trickier part is finding the modules.
Yeah.
That's where it gets tricky. And they never really did anything other than clean, dirty, and something else.
Yeah.
But I see that it's good in theory for that time.
Yeah.
How do you pay tribute to one of the greatest guitarists from one of the greatest rock bands of all time?
Tone Arts USA proudly brings to you the ultimate addition to your shred den, the limited edition Super Halen 1x12 stack.
Draped in the pages of a vintage 1990 Van Halen comic book, the Super Halen is a showpiece that can rock like no other.
No two Super Halen amps are the same.
Each cabinet is scientifically crafted with the highest grade materials to give you that monstrous tone that will light up the sky. It's fully loaded with a 12-inch USA-made Green Beret speaker, a total upgrade from the Celestion G12M greenbacks that we've become so accustomed to.
Each cabinet is closed back just like Eddie's, but Tone Arts USA does offer an optional open back if your heart desires.
Visit www.mastersofshred.com now to reserve yours today before you can't get this stuff no more.